welcome to Crushing the Meta. Today we are with T-Boy.
Yes.
And I'm here with you also, so you can see him and his shiny cards, because
We have a profile for Blademaster. We already did a profile on the channel about a month ago when Blademaster was introduced for the first time. And the profile was actually very nice, and you guys loved it. But in today's video we'll talk about the different builds that you could make for Blademaster. Because the way I see it, there are three builds that you could make. You have the build that play the order card. So you could play this to draw more cards and have more power in the front row. You have more of a budget build that does not play the more expensive cards from the older sets, that for people that are new to the game they could just make it. And you have the build that goes in between, which is the build that plays the boosters, which are the great one, like Carp Uncle and like Mobius right here.
And this one is very cute.
Yes.
It's like a fox or something.
So if you haven't seen the video yet, you can check it out. The link is in the description section below. It's a long video, but it does explain the most. So this video is kind of a add to that video, so you could check that one first, and then you could check this one out. Alright, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like our videos, and let us know in the comment section below what is your favorite Kagero deck, and if it's Blademaster, then which build do you like the most. Alright, we could zoom in on the playmats, and then I could explain the build. So as you can see right here, the only thing you could see is the trigger lineup for now. I think it doesn't really matter which build you play. It's up to you to play the 6 crit on the 6 draw or the 7 draw 5 crits. Me, I like the 5 draw to add the one more draw, so 5 crit 7 draw. But this one is pretty much up to you, and it's also up to you to play which starter or which draws or crits do you want to play. For the cards that are very important to the deck, so the cards that you will have in all the three builds. The first one is of course Soen himself. You need to have this card at 4. It's a very important card to the deck, and it's way more important than the old Blademaster, which is a card that it's not that necessary in the deck anymore, depending on the build that you want to make. Second card that's very important to have in the deck is of course Doa, because the deck needs the grade 2 and the grade 1 tech team, as I like to call them, for the deck to work. So these are the cards that are very important to have to the deck. All the other cards are less important, and you could change them depending on how your deck look like and what your budget is. Okay, now let's talk first about the build that's we play, or I play myself, and then after that go back and explain what could you change to play the order card, or what could you change to play more of a budget build. So for the grade 3 lineup, I like to add 2 of the older Blademaster. Why? Because as I explained in the other video, the old Blademaster give you the opportunity to go for plan A or plan B. Plan A is pretty much to go force 2, and plan B is to go force 1. And plan B requires you to write first into Soen, because Soen is your first right target as always, and then after that go to Blademaster, and after that get into Waterfall to be able to kill them all with force 1. But if you want to go with your plan A, which is your force 2 plan, then you normally just stay on Soen. So you go multiple times into this. You could go in between into Blademaster, but pretty much you don't really need the extra crit, because you already get a crit and you need the power from Soen. So yes, we add in the Dragonic Waterfall as well, and we could play just 2 copies of it. So this is the grade 3 lineup, and this is the extra card that I play in the deck, but you don't have to play it, which I will explain later. If you play more of a budget build and you don't want to play these, then you could also just play the 4 copies of Soen, which we will explain later. For the grade 2 lineup, we add in the 3 copies of Berserk Dragon. It's a card that could be expensive depending on when you're watching this video, and it's not necessary to have in the deck, but it is definitely very effective, because this is your favorite right target. It's a good beater, but most of the time this is a card you want to write into. Another card that is not expensive to add to the deck, but does help to add to the consistency of the deck, is of course the new Dragon Dancer, the grade 2. This card helps you to search your combo pieces to your hands, and with that you'll be able to get Sowen ability or the old Blademaster ability easier. Last but not least, you have a tech card to add in the deck as well, which is the 2 copies of Cannon. This is another card that you add to the deck to make the deck more playable, to be able to put these back to your deck, and with that you will be able to make your plays. Alright, so this is for the grade 2 lineup, and this is the card that you don't have to add to the deck, depending if you play the grade 1 Dragon Dancer or not. So that's pretty much up to you, which we'll explain later in the different builds. For the grade 1 lineup, we add the Lava Flow Dragon, which is a very important card, especially if you play multiple grade 3s. Because you really don't want to write these as your first right target, because they pretty much do nothing. You want to write Sowen. And if you already have 2 copies of this in your hand and you want to go for your plan B, so this and then this card could help you to get the right grade 3s to your hand. But pretty much your one and only good right target as grade 1. Then we add the 2 Mobius, or 3 Mobius, and with the 2 Carbuncle. As Fira said, this card is definitely cute.
Yeah.
It's nice to have it with this because they are both Carbuncles. And for people who played Yu-Gi-Oh, this looks pretty much alike to the Crystal Beast one, which is also good, Ruby Carbuncle, which is nice because I played Crystal Beast in the past. I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh anymore, but it's funny to think about that game as well. And this is the 5 boosters that I talked about. This is my favorite build because these do help out a lot in the Protect matchup. If you want to go for plan B and you want to use Dragonic Waterfall, and this becomes a 20k booster, which is a very important card to have to the deck. And last but not least, the card that I add to the deck is 1 copy of Dragonic Overlord. This is Sparkle Lord. This is a gift from Sparkles. That's why I keep playing it. It's my favorite dragon, and they are all Dragonics. Dragonic Overlord, Dragonic Waterfall, Dragonic Blademaster, and the new Blademaster, which is nice. But if you don't want to play this, which I don't really recommend it, you could just take it out to play 1 more copy of the Lava Flow Dragon. Pretty much you add more consistency to the deck, and your deck would look like this. Okay, but that's my favorite build. Now let's talk about the build that plays the order card and what will change if you want to play that. And then after that, talk about the budget build. Okay, if you want to play the order cards, then you actually need to cut some grade 3s out because you don't really want to cut your grade 2s. So most people don't play Dragonic Waterfall anymore because they just go for plan A. And with that, you will take the 2 Dragonic Waterfall out and you add in 2 copies of the order, at least. You don't want to play 1, you could play 2 or 3. Remember that these cards are never dead because you could always discard them with Sowen, so it's fine. And it's pretty much up to you to play the Dragonic Blademaster or not. You could also just take 1 more out to play just the 5 grade 3s. I've seen a lot of Japanese lists that play just the 4 Sowen or just add in 1 Blademaster, which is fine, but for me, I will G-assist for most of my games, even by having 8 or 9 grade 3s. So it's good to have this and also to have the option to go in between which one you want to. But if you run these, then there is 1 card that you have to run to the deck, otherwise the deck would not work, which is the Ermo. Ermo gives you the counter charge, and without Ermo you will never be able to play this card. And that's why this is more of an expensive build, because Ermo is an expensive card. And if you want to play Ermo, then you pretty much have to cut some of your grade 1s. And this card will be cut. It doesn't matter how cute she is. You just don't have space for her. And then it's pretty much up to you. If you play only the 4 Sowen, then you don't really have to play Lava Flow. So you could take Lava Flow out to play the Ermo. And with that, you have 2 more spaces in your deck. And you could also play other grade 1s, which one of them is of course the on-hit draw and the retired draw, which is Sable. You could play that as well, but again, pretty much up to you. For me, I don't really see the necessary to add Ermo or Sable to the deck, because normally you just get rid of them to draw the right cards, but you draw after you retire, which means that you retire first with Sowen, then you draw, But what you normally want to do is you want to draw before you get into summon, otherwise you could not retire. So it's kind of the other way around, but people usually just play these cards to activate the order, which is a very good card, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't make the deck more consistent. It makes it less consistent. So that's the expensive build. If you want to see a full deck profile on the expensive build that play Ermos, I could show you that as well. But pretty much you have to add this to the deck, then you add that. And because you're taking most of these cards out, then you also have place to play the 4 of this and then 2 Sable, and then you're good to go. Now let's talk about the less expensive build. So let's say if you don't really have Lava Flow, or you don't want to get this card because it's expensive, you take it out, and you also don't have Waterfall. It's not an expensive card, but let's say you don't have it, you don't have Blademasters, take all of these out. And in this case, you could add some of the new rare grade 3s that you have in the set that pretty much are good. You could add them to the deck, or maybe if you could find these for a good price, you could still play this. But what you just don't want to play is the Lava Flow, because this card could be more expensive than Soen himself, and I could see people not playing it. But if you take the Lava Flow out, then you have the problem that maybe you will have to ride into these. So you need to cut some of your grade 3s and sometimes rely on G assisting, which means that your deck would look pretty much like this. Alright, so you will have just the 6 grade 3s to the deck, and then you add more copies like this to the deck, which make the deck more consistent to get these to the hand. And then you have, of course, way more space to add these kind of boosters. And one more important card that you could add to the deck, which is the grade 1 that put these
Dragon Dancer.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Soja right here, even if you don't have the full 4 copies of this, because this is the most expensive card in the deck, you could just play more copies of this to be able to put these back to the deck. And with that, you have a very strong booster, but also a card that helps you to get the right cards back to your deck. And that's pretty much it for this video. We actually just wanted to explain the different builds that you get back with the Blademaster. And I'm actually very interested to see which build that you guys like the most and like to play, and what's your favorite build right now. For me, I have been playing Blademaster from the start when the card or when the dragon was revealed in G, because Blademaster is the art of dragons that play a lot of Dragon Dancers and Dragon Knights, which most of them are, the lore of the cards are from the Arab culture, which is very nice because myself, I'm Arab, so it's nice to have these back to the deck. And also the Dragonic Overlord is of course my favorite card of Kagero, and having the ability to still play it with its own markers is just nice. So adding the Dragonic Blademaster, which is amazing arts, adding it to the deck is very, very, very nice. Alright guys, I'd like to thank you all for watching. Thank you for all the support you give to our channel.
And see you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.